Welcome everybody to another SF Live episode. This is episode 122. In a few short seconds, we will be joined by Alan Carter. He's the president and CEO of Cabral Gold. We're going to be talking about their deposits in Brazil. Quite exciting discoveries they made in early January. Deposit number 3 was discovered, so we're going to quiz him on that. But before we switch over to Alan, make sure to follow us on Twitter, follow us on YouTube. You know the spiel. Leave a comment, leave a like, but also hit the alert button. That way you get notified when we go live with another company introduction or a breaking news special. You won't miss it that way. Also, use the YouTube chat function, use the hashtag function on Twitter, and hashtag assigned for this one is AskCBR, and we'll be taking a close look at Twitter and YouTube and the chat here to make sure your questions get answered. Now, let me switch over to Mr. Alan Carter. And Alan, it's great to have you on. How are you?
Nice to be here, Kai. Very well, thanks.
Yeah, I hope you started off the new year well. I'm going to be asking that question for another 5 days, and then 2020 is off. 2021 is off and running. And let's start with a recap, though. How was 2020 for you guys? Give us an overview of Cabral, and then we'll dive into some details.
Well, Kai, Cabral Gold is a gold exploration development company listed on the TSX Venture Exchange in Canada. As you said, we have a gold project in Brazil. Right now, we have a resource that comprises just under 1 million ounces. We have 2 deposits. We think we've just discovered a third. We think there are multiple deposits within a district. It is a district play. And we're in quite a special part of the world. We're in northern Brazil in an area called the Tapajós, which is the site of the world's largest gold rush in history. There was 20 to 30 million ounces of placer gold. That's all alluvial gold that's been eroded into the streams over millions of years. 20 to 30 million ounces was recovered during the 1980s, and we're on a hunt for as much of that gold as we can find. Our project was actually the richest placer camp during that gold rush. So if the historic placer gold production is any guide, we think that we should get a lot more hard rock gold. We've got a very aggressive drill program going right now, 25,000 meters. We've got 2 rigs on site, so we're very busy.
Yeah, sounds like it, definitely. And run us a bit through the history of the project. How did you acquire it? How did it fall into your hands?
This project, Kai, we flagged it because it was such a significant placer gold producer. It's got an enormous footprint. There's 2 million ounces come out of the streams in just our area, and there's probably another 2 million ounces just a fine gold still sitting in the sand and gravel that wasn't recovered by the old timers. So it's got a very large footprint. And to put this in some sort of context, Eldorado Gold has an advanced project right next door to us. Our claims are contiguous with theirs. Their project produced 200,000 ounces of gold during the gold rush, so about 10% of the gold that was produced in our area. So our area was 10 times larger. So their project's much more advanced. They've got 2.3 million ounce resource, and we're targeting a gold project here of 5 to 10 million ounces. Cabral Gold's only about 3 years old, just over 3 years old. So the first couple of drill campaigns in 2019 were a big success. We're targeting very much focused on the high-grade potential here. We already have high-grade drill intercepts in 9 target areas, which are outside the 2 main deposits. And as you said, we think we've discovered a third. So we've got a lot of work ahead of us.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. And deposit number 3 was the one that caught our attention, obviously, early January when we were looking at who should we talk to, right? And who's of interest in the mining world right now and who made a discovery. So glad you were able to jump on the program. Run us quickly through the past drill programs. How many are drilled so far to get to that 1 million ounces?
Yeah, there's 52,000 meters drilled on the project. Now, not all of that drilling is obviously within the two known deposits. So about half of that amount is within the 2 known deposits. And Mashishi we drilled for the first time in 2019, so about 18 months ago or so, and we put about 6 or 7 holes into an area that looked very, very similar to our MG deposit. MG is an east-west trending zone. It's about 2 kilometers long, 30 to 60 meters wide. It daylights, and we don't know how deep it is because it's open at depth. And there was a zone that looked very, very similar. We could see there was high-grade veins sticking out of the ground 500 meters to the north. There was a coincident east-west trending mag feature. We drilled some initial holes into it, as I said, in mid-2019 and got very, very similar looking rocks to what we got at MG. So it looked very, very similar. I think the best hole that we drilled in 2019 was about 60 meters at just less than a gram. But within that, there are some high-grade veins, which is our principal target. Now, we started following up and we stepped out. We don't know yet how far this deposit extends either east or west, and it's too early to have a resource on it. So we drilled a couple of holes just before the Christmas break, just over a month ago now, on the eastern extent. And the first hole was a 75-meter step out for the most easterly hole. So it was quite a big step out to the east, and it came back running 35 meters at or 34 meters, I think it was, at 5.4 grams a ton. So it was a very, very good, nice grade intercept. And that hole was actually 3 to 4 times better than the best hole that we drilled in 2019. Another hole that was drilled 50 meters further east also cut a good 20-meter zone. So it looks, as I said, very, very similar to MG. We don't have a resource on it yet. It's too early to say how big it is, but it's quite exciting.
Yeah, like, and how are you targeting? Are you the first like greenfield explorer on the project, like doing proper exploration work, or has there been any historical information that you're basing your targeting on?
There's been some historical work done in terms of soil sampling and some drilling that was done previously. I was involved in that. We had a company called Magellan Minerals that was subsequently acquired by Anfield and merged into Equinox, and this project was cut out prior to that acquisition. So there has been quite a lot of work done, and there is quite a lot of work going on. That we have a database here of about 15,000 soil samples. We've flown it with detailed airborne magnetics. As I said, we've got 52,000 meters of diamond drilling and several thousand meters now of RC drilling. There's an extensive auger drill database where we're drilling down to about 10, 15 meters deep to get to the top of bedrock samples. So there's an awful lot of information to go on, Kai. This project, as I said at the outset, is district scale. It's got a very, very large footprint. It's very, very unusual. As I said, the footprint here is 10 times larger than our neighbor's project. So it has got a large footprint. We think this project will have multiple deposits. We're already thinking about where deposit number 4 and 5 might be. And so the drill program that we've got currently going on, as I said, is a 25,000 meter program. We will drill over the next 6 months or so between 10 and 15 targets.
Okay. I'm going to interrupt you there for a second because I want to start talking cap structure real quick before we talk about future.
Sure.
Just to get us all on equal footing there as well and get us all on the same playing field here. So we wrapped up the historical part, and you already hinted at what's happening in 2021 and gave us a bit of an outlook with the 25,000 meters. But before we do that, I'd like to know what the cash situation is and like run us through the cap structure real quick, just so we know whether you're well financed for it.
We got 120 million shares out or thereabouts, Kai, a little bit less. We have no significant warrants. I think there's 244,000 warrants outstanding. The cash position is about 6 million, just a little bit less than 6 million Canadian. So that drill program I was just mentioning is fully funded. I'm one of the largest shareholders in this. So far I've written checks totaling $1.7 million, which is an awful lot of money for me. We've got some very good institutional shareholders. By the way, management owns about 17% of this. So as I said, I'm one of the largest shareholders. I'm either the largest shareholder or the second largest shareholder. But we've got Crestcat, we've got Phoenix, we've got RBC's Gold Fund, we've got a Cisco, we've got US Global, and a whole host of smaller institutions. So the institutional ownership here is about 39%. So yeah, that's basically the cap structure. Currently, we're well funded.
Yeah, no, it sounds really interesting, and especially the institutional side sounds quite impressive. And the last financing was at 12.5 cents, and now we're trading at 67 cents. Of course, people are in the money, and the financing was only this summer. I'm trying to phrase the question, like how strong are your shareholders in terms of like generating that liquidity? It sounds like the institutional side is not going to sell, right? Like I only saw Phoenix sell a little bit, but of course we all want to make money. But my question is like, how many shares of that $12.5 million financing do we have to fight moving forward?
Well, I think there obviously has been some profit taking. As you said, the last financing we did in July was at 12.5 cents. There was no warrant and it was non-brokered. So we set out to raise $2 million. We actually non-brokered deal without a warrant. We got orders back then for about 7.5 million. We actually cut it off at 4.2. Since then, we've had some warrants that have been exercised, which is why the balance is around about $6 million. So we think we got a very strong shareholder base. The company does trade. This is not a company that trades by appointment. We've got a very, very strong, active retail shareholder base. I'm in contact with a lot of our individual shareholders on a very regular basis. So, as I said, there are multiple catalysts for this company going forward here in the short term. So,
we're going to get to those just now. So let's talk about those catalysts. Of course, 6 million in the bank, 25,000 meter drill program. Let's talk a bit about targeting and distribution of those drill meters in the future, and where we're at in that program. Have you started?
Have we started drilling?
Yeah. So
yeah, we've got 2 rigs operating right now. Okay. So there should be a constant flow of drill results, as I said, over the next sort of 6 months or so, and probably well beyond that. So the important thing here, Kai, is that this district is about 15 kilometers east-west currently by about 10 kilometers north-south, and it keeps growing as we find more and more gold targets. 90% of the historic placer gold that was mined from the streams is unexplained. The 2 deposits and Mashishi as well probably explain about 10% of the placer gold that was mined here. So the question is, where is the other 90% of the placer gold being eroded from? And so we believe this project has the potential for multiple deposits here, and we're going to set out to test that. Now, the really interesting thing about this project is, as I said, if you leave Mashishi, the new one, on the side, there are 8 other areas beyond MG, Central, and Mashishi where we've got some very, very good high-grade drill intercepts that we're going to be following up over the next few months. Just to give you an example, we've got the Mashishi Southwest area where we've got 3.4 meters at 36.9 grams. That will be followed up. We've got Central Southeast where we've got 27 meters at 6.9 grams. That needs, in a drill hole, that needs to be followed up. We've got Jerimunsima where we've got 39 meters at 5.1 grams, and then a couple of kilometers to the north of that, we've got JN. JN has a new outcropping vein on it of 5.3 meters at 24 grams, never been drilled. So there's an awful lot of high-grade mineralization here, and I haven't even talked about all the boulder trains that we're finding. Where we've got groups of boulders on various targets which are averaging multi-ounce numbers. So there's a lot to do.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot of follow-up drilling. Is there a favorite follow-up target that you have where you're going to dedicate maybe the most meters to, or just trying to find it? Like my question is, like, are there any priority targets within that like massive list of follow-ups? Right?
Yes, there are. Now, Mashishi was, I think, a priority for the whole team at Cabral, and that that ranking that we all had as proven to be correct, because as you said, we've just pulled a very good hole, 34 meters at 5.4 grams. Beyond that, there are some exciting targets coming up. We're currently drilling about 150 meters to the north on something called Mashishi Northeast, which looks like it could be actually yet another zone. We've only got 1 hole into it from 2019, but we've got drill results coming back on that in the next few weeks, probably the next week or two. And then beyond that, I certainly have some things that I'm very excited about, particularly the area 500 meters to the southeast of Central. And our shareholders know why I'm excited about that, because we've got 3 or 4 holes down there. We've got a cracking gold in soil anomaly. It's only 500 meters away from the Central deposit, and one of those holes cut 27 meters at 6.9 grams. So, and then, similarly to the northwest on that whole central trend, in and around the Central deposit, there are some very, very good targets to the northwest too. So, there's a lot of different targets here, and we keep generating new targets at the rate of 1 every 4 to 6 weeks. So the drill program continues to evolve. The drill program that we set out to test, and the targets that we set out to test in the third quarter of last year has evolved. It's changed as new targets have been discovered.
Yeah, and new discoveries, obviously, a good point. And how many holes do you have in the lab, and how are they guiding you right now? Like those results, or how are you being guided by pending results?
Yeah, good question. Look, as you know, probably from some of your other companies that have been on, turnaround times, the COVID-19 pandemic is impacting turnaround times, and so we have to manage that. So We have several holes in the lab right now from this Mashishi Northeast target that is just 150 meters to the north of where we drilled 34 meters at 5.4 grams, and we've got several holes still pending in an area called Indio, which is brand new, high grade mineralization on surface. We only discovered it recently. But it is taking longer. Some of the drill results are taking longer than a month. So,
okay. No, of course,
these are the
that's
times
like I would be shocked if you would have said something else, right? And a month is not even bad. Like that's actually record speed in North America, right? So,
well, yeah, some of them are taking longer than that, but yeah, it has tacked on another couple of weeks in turnaround times. I mean, pre-pandemic, 2-3 weeks. Now 4-5 weeks plus.
yeah.
So
since you mentioned you brought up COVID, and I don't think we've had any guests from Brazil on SF Live in the past. I just want to ask you, like, how does that impact your work down there? Like, how are you dealing with the current situation? How is the local community reacting to, let's say, you being present, like Cabral, not you personally, but Cabral being present?
Yeah. Well, look, we work out of a local village, a little village. It's there's about 500 people live in the village. We actually run the health post there, so we've been tracking the evolution of the pandemic. We elected back in April of last year, to shut our program down for 3.5 weeks, just out of abundance of caution, really. Exploration mining is an essential industry in Brazil, so you can continue to work, but we shut the program down. We got back there in July when we thought it was comfortable. As I said, we were tracking the evolution of the pandemic. And then from September to December, there were no cases recorded. So there were quite a lot of cases in the village and the first wave. And what we're now seeing is a second wave coming. As we're seeing all over, in Canada and Europe and other places, and Brazil, northern Brazil, is being impacted by the second wave. It remains to be seen how bad that second wave is going to be, but there have been several new cases in the last few days and weeks in our community. So, we take as many precautions as we can. We test all our employees. We're testing people in the community. We're offering health support. We've got a part-time nurse that administers health support to the community. So we do as much as we can.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, and I really appreciate you like sharing that with us as well. And it is in everybody's heads, right? So we got to do that. I think we're pretty much at the wrap. I think we talked about a whole lot. Let's talk about catalysts. That's the last one. So catalysts for me are big reports, resource, PEA, PFS. Let's talk about a bit business plan and moving forward. So when can we expect a resource update for the area? And how much drilling do you actually have to do to get to a proper reserve, actually, that you can use even in a PEA or PFS?
Yeah. Well, the catalyst for us, Kai, are really over the next 6 to 12 months of drilling. Drill results, new discoveries. And as you know, most of you get maximum value creation in companies of our size in our sector when you discover a new deposit. And so in terms of doing a PEA and a next resource estimate, I haven't given any guidance yet in terms of when we will be doing a resource estimate. What we will be doing is, when we are confident is that we've got a significant step up on the current resource estimate, and I'm not talking 30-50% step up. There's an awful lot of high grade mineralization that we drilled historically that's already not included in the resource estimate, and that's before the current drilling. But the earliest that we would be updating the resource would be the end of this year, and a PEA would be sometime after that. And now, obviously, what we don't want to do is a PEA on a 2 million ounce deposit when we think we could have 5 to 10 million ounces here. This is going to be like a lot of gold mines around the world, where you have a central processing facility, and then they're fed from different open pits and sometimes underground operations within a limited radius. So I think there will be multiple mines feeding a central processing plant at Cuiú ultimately. But there's no point in us really doing a PA on something that's small to medium-sized gold deposit when we're of the firm opinion that we've got a very large district here.
No, that makes sense, and I really appreciate you running us through that business plan, because companies need to have a plan. Some of them don't prefer to share it, like what's your goal, right? But investors want to know, like, where are you taking things? Like, what's the idea? You're not drilling for the hell of it, right? So, and
no,
there's got to be a goal, right? It's got to be targeted. So I really appreciate you running us through that idea. We got one question in actually on Twitter, and Martin is asking, since the Real Canadian dollar exchange rate is so good, why don't you bring in a third rig?
Very, very good question, and that is very topical. I would encourage shareholders and our investors to watch this space. That is something that is currently under discussion. We haven't made any decisions yet, and I can't comment further. But we want to get more aggressive with the drill program, Kai. We've got an awful lot of targets here. I mean, I've only mentioned that we've got 8 targets with some previous drilling, but we've probably got in the order of 40 or 50 targets now outside the 2 deposits, and it keeps growing. So, we'd like to be aggressive. We need more machines. We need a more aggressive program, and that means more catalysts and potential catalysts for the share price.
Phenomenal. To wrap it up, news flow next 3 months, drill results. When do you expect the next set to come out?
I would expect the next set of drill results in the next week or two, and then I think COVID permitting, and we'll see how. As I said, I will couch all my comments. We don't know how bad the second wave is going to get in our part of the world, but I anticipate if we keep moving along at this sort of rate, that we'll have drill results every 2-3 weeks, something like that, and we'll see. As I said, we're not testing 1 or 2 targets here. We're testing between 10 and 15. So it's an awful lot of news.
Yeah, no, phenomenal. And I'm just double checking so I'm not missing any questions. So I think we got all the bases covered. Really, really appreciate you joining us. That was quite informative. And thanks for catching us up and being available. So much appreciated, Alan.
Thanks for having me on, Kai.
Yeah, everybody else, thanks for watching. This was SF Live episode 122 with Alan Carter, President and CEO of Cabral Gold. And really appreciate your questions. Thanks for following. Thanks for watching. And stay tuned for more. And don't forget to subscribe to our channels, YouTube, Twitter. We're here for you. So hit the alert button. You'll get notified when we go live again with another update.